I'm sure people are familiar with Joanne Reid. She is a host on MSNBC. She can be considered as somebody that is supportive of the establishment agenda.
Goes out of her way to do that.
Yeah, she has a lot of criticism for progressive politics.
Yeah.
So on Twitter recently, she, I guess, she promoted an idea. She promoted an idea, something that I guess just occurred to her.
She had a hot take.
Yeah, this was about the 2020 election and maybe a particular candidate that might resonate with millennials.
The youngins.
The youngins. So on Twitter, she said, millennial voters, by the time this election happens in 2020, will be the majority of voters. And those millennials grew up with Obama and Biden. So there is a comfort level they will have with Joe Biden that is different from Bernie Sanders or Beto O'Rourke.
She's making the Obama swag transference mistake. You see what I'm saying? Because, like, if we're talking about Obama, he came with, like, a certain level of newness, charisma. He was superficially different. Like, he didn't get triggered by criticism. He dealt with that smoothly from the opposition. So I can see how, those traits would resonate with everybody, including young people. But you can't magically, I guess, project those traits onto Biden. You know what I'm saying? And Biden wasn't in the spotlight. So I don't know where this comfort level would have developed in the first place. You see what I'm saying? Biden was really nowhere to be seen as a vice president.
You're being a little too kind. I think you're being a little too kind. Joe Biden, again, he was the VP under Barack Obama for 8 years. The VP. Vice presidents are usually not seen.
Ghosts.
They're usually ghosts. From time to time, and it's rare, under the vice president right now, well, under the president right now, Mike Pence, the VP, you see him from time to time. Sometimes he will have to make an appearance in the Senate to cast a deciding vote. He'll do speeches in other countries or even here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times he's right beside the president when the president is signing some legislation or doing something. But largely he is ignored by the media. And that's historically how it goes with vice presidents. So to transfer what Obama had with millennial voters, because again, if Obama was running again as a candidate,
that would make sense.
Then you would say that, these millennial voters, they did grow up with Obama as the president, and he does have tremendous support. So you would assume that he would have that support again. But to transfer that support to the VP who was nowhere to be seen on a very large level is crazy. This is the dumbest thing in the world. This is really stupid.
And it's not dumb because she's dumb. Because if you consistently watch her, there are times where, she can be real smart, insightful. She's kind of intellectually capable of delivering coming to logical conclusions. Mm-hmm. I've seen it. So this definitely is coming from a different place. It's just like she was trying to wish it to be true. So I just don't understand how somebody who can be sensible in certain moments can have such a bad take, which means it's coming from some other place. Mm-hmm. And like you kind of said at the introduction, she kind of, runs interference for establishment candidates. Right. And she did that for Hillary Clinton. And she antagonized Bernie Sanders and his supporters. So pretty much she just pulled this straight out of her ass. I think she was just saying it because she wished it to be true. When I read takes like this, there's a voice in my head, reading that disclaimer that says this message is brought to you in part by blah, blah, blah. That's what I was like, that's the message that went through my head. This message is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Because it was so dumb, because it had to be coming from that place because it was so nonsensical.
If the millennial support from Barack Obama, the support that he accumulated over his time as the president of the United States, if that is transferred to Joe Biden, then you could probably say that about anybody that was in Obama's cabinet. You could say the same thing about Eric Holder, who was looked at as a contender for 2020. You could say that about Loretta Lynch. You could pick any member of the Obama cabinet because, you know what? And man, my mistake. My mistake. I actually picked figures that were more noticeable than Joe Biden.
Exactly.
The attorney generals. This is dumb. And you know what? And this causes me to actually get into Joe Biden. The effort to propel Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who just months ago, before the midterm elections, showed up in Michigan, showed up to support a Republican in Michigan's 6th congressional district. This was a re-election campaign for Representative Fred Upton. The far-right Republican Fred Upton. Oh, excuse me. The far-right Fred Upton. Joe Biden showed up for him, actually gave a speech, was paid $200,000
don't forget
for
that
that
part.
speech. Can't forget that. But he actually showed up to propel this man to victory, and he did win, but by a very slim margin, by about half a percentage point. The Democratic Party did not want Biden to do it. Now, if he didn't want to support the Democrat in the race, I wouldn't have nothing bad to say about him, nothing negative to say, because of course you're not going to just go around like endorsing every single candidate across the United States of America. So if you wanted to stay out of it, cool. But he actually showed up and supported Fred Upton, somebody that is to the far right, somebody that is against abortion, against a woman's right to choose, against the ACA, voted against it many times, has an A+ rating from the NRA. Again, this is a far right guy, but Joe Biden activated himself for $200,000 to propel him to victory. And I have to note that we heard 2 years ago. No, this was over 2 years ago now. We heard after Bernie Sanders did not come away with the Democratic nomination, we heard that he was not doing enough for the Democratic Party. He was not doing enough for the Democratic nominee in Hillary Clinton to get her nominated, or to get her elected into office. He didn't do enough. That type of narrative has followed him in 2019 when he announced for president. People are still using that same narrative. It's Bernie's fault. He didn't do enough. You have Joe Biden, who actually showed up for a Republican, but the establishment, MSNBC, they feel fine with promoting Joe Biden, somebody that didn't do the Democratic Party any favors.